I think sometimes we have our preconceptions about who God is, and in doing so, don't think that God could ever be offensive. We can't consider or contemplate that God sometimes wants to shake us out of complacency, and He's going to do some things that are really going to set us on edge a little bit. We see a great example of this in Ezekiel chapter 4, where God is telling Ezekiel how he is to share a message with the Israelites. And one of the things he does is tells Ezekiel to cook his bread over human poop. It's kind of disgusting. And in fact, for Ezekiel, it's mortally offending because he is a priest. He follows the priestly rituals. He is supposed to be pure. And to do otherwise, to do this, would make him unclean. And so Ezekiel actually tells God, "Oh, Lord God, I have never defiled myself. From my youth up until now, I've never eaten what died of itself or was torn by animals or has carrion flesh come into my mouth." Then God said to me, "See, I will let you have cow's dung instead of human dung on which you may prepare your bread." Yes, it's gross. But yes, it sure sets a message, and it makes the Israelites pay attention because this is disgusting and out of the norm. I think if we are trying to really understand God's heart, some of the things He's going to use to get our attention might seem a little bit overwhelming. God is not a God who is always going to come in gently as the whisper. Sometimes He's going to use symbolism in a big way to get our attention. When we see these things, we have to be careful not to dismiss them as not of God. Rather, we need to be mindful for what He is trying to teach us and maybe look for how we're not paying attention to Him and why this might be a method He's using. A great example of this in my life, I've shared this before in my videos. I was at a church one night when we had some young man come by our church. He wanted to give a message to the congregation who was there for a Wednesday night dinner. And it took great convincing to allow our senior pastor to give him that time. This young man got up and in the process of sharing his message, used some pretty vulgar language. But the message, if you got to the heart of it, was about God's love and how God was so upset at what He was not seeing that He wanted action. And people dismissed this young man because the words he was using were offensive. The reality is the message, other than the offensive language, was quite clear. Let's look for what God is truly saying. Let's not be offended by what He's saying, but maybe look at the offense in us that has led to God trying to get our attention in this way. Something to contemplate today. Blessings on you.